if we give up and we say, okay, na so it be, you give up on the hopes of Nigeria being what it can be, and I mean not just Nigeria but communities across Africa. What's the alternative? If we let democracy fall apart, if our systems, if we all decide, you know what, it's difficult to do the right thing, so I just won't. As bad as we think things are now, it's going to be monumentally worse. So, you just keep doing the right thing, trusting, believing that every seed you plant, you may not get the harvest directly, but it stops the system, it slows down or even stops the decay in the system entirely.
This season of the Unamplified podcast is supported by the Open Society Foundations.
A red line is a boundary that should not be crossed because once crossed, it changes the character of a system. For instance, when a couple commits to a monogamous marriage and one of them, most time, the man brings in another woman into the relationship, it leaves the wife at a crossroad because the red line has been crossed. So in a democracy, there are certain red lines that shouldn't be crossed. For instance, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, term limits, independent judiciary, tolerance of opposition parties. These are important red lines that when crossed, changes the character of the system. So what happens when African leaders cross these lines? Most importantly, when they leave us confused on whether we're in a democracy or a pretend democracy. Welcome to the Red Lines, Democracy Under Pressure on the Unamplified podcast. My name is Cynthia Mbamali, your host, and with me today is my co-host.
Yes, welcome amplifiers on this episode of the Unamplified podcast. My name is Queen CY, as you all know, and on this episode, we will be looking at what is pressuring our democracy in Africa. It is our democracy, not just anyhow democracy, it's for us. So we'll be looking at what is pressuring our democracy in Africa. Joining us to discuss this amazing topic is our brilliant guest, Dr. Onyeche Abiti Douglas. She is a die-hard do-gooder with experience working on development and humanitarianism and with a great passion for promoting inclusive governance and human rights. Welcome to the Unamplified podcast, Dr. Onyeche.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Thank you.
You said a die-hard do-gooder. That's a first for me. So why die-hard do-gooder?
So do-gooder in the sense that, doing what I know and what I believe to be right. And then die hard because, as the topic suggests, It's not always the easy thing to do. The environment doesn't always support it. But if it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do.
Yes. I mean, when we saw that, I was just like I said, because I followed your work. You've been doing this for almost 2 decades now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's not always easy to continue engaging in this kind of work, especially when sometimes it's almost like you're putting so much effort, but the results, you're not seeing the result the way you want to see that. So why do you keep believing? Why do you still do this work?
Because what's the alternative? If we give up and we say, okay, na so it be, you give up on the hopes of Nigeria being what it can be, and I mean not just Nigeria but communities across Africa. What's the alternative? If we let democracy fall apart, if our systems, if we all decide, you know what, it's difficult to do the right thing, so I just won't. As bad as we think things are now, it's going to be monumentally worse. So, you just keep doing the right thing, trusting, believing that every seed you plant, you may not get the harvest directly, but it stops the system, it slows down or even stops the decay in the system entirely.
Well, yeah, I mean, you said something, it could be worse. If we don't keep doing what we're doing, it could be worse. And that brings me to our first conversation, the first question, because we're like, these leaders, most times they push these boundaries. You're not asking yourself, are we still in a democracy? Or is this something that looks like? like democracy. And we've had this debate, especially on the continent, whether democracy is African. And I want to hear from you. What do you think? Can Africans have democracy that works for the people? And do we want democracy?
So those are two very important questions. I'll speak to the second one first. Afrobarometer has done a study recently and has told us that, worryingly, most young Africans don't believe in democracy. Not necessarily that they don't believe in the principles of democracy, but the delivery of it leaves a lot to be desired. So that now comes to, meanwhile, another interesting thing about it is they also don't like the idea of one-party systems. So that tells us that young Africans in particular, and I speak to them because they are the majority of us on the continent, right? They actually like the idea of democracy, what it offers, but given that it seems like such a struggle and it's this difficult thing to deliver on, there's a tendency to go, you know what, if other systems can give us good governance. So I think that's the thing. It's not a lack of, interest or them rejecting, but when a relationship, you are with a partner who keeps promising and failing and not delivering, you lose hope. You can lose hope in the institution. So, I do believe that Africans want it, because who wouldn't want a system where your voice counts?
Exactly.
Where, you get to choose your leaders, where you can ask questions, and asking questions doesn't, there is no risk to you suddenly getting arrested or, just because you asked a question or you expressed criticism, about how people who, by the way, you are should be answerable to you. Are operating. So who wouldn't want that, right? But then I'll now come to the first question of whether democracy is African. So I remember coming across this and hearing people state, democracy is not ours. It's a Western import. So maybe the style of democracy where we use constitutions. So that element of a constitution that says we the people, the Americans, we have to credit for that, right?
Yeah.
The US was forming a new country with people from diverse origin, and so they had to sit down, and there was a document that expressed their hopes, the fundamentals and the basics. And so many countries, even in Europe, found that was useful and adopted it. But the idea, the practice of democracy itself is as African as you or I, right? Yes. You look across the and when things like this happen, what becomes very apparent to me is that a lot of us, whether deliberately or not, and I think it's also part of a failing of our educational system. We do not know our history.
True.
As Africans.
Yeah.
Because if you know your history, you will know that right here in Nigeria, the Igbos are the primary example
very
of democratic, decentralized governance systems. It was the Europeans that came, and a lot of these traditional titles that we carry on our heads were actually the imports. They did it here, they did it across the continent, right? The Igbos operated a system where they chose their representatives. In some other communities here in Nigeria, they said, you know what, the oldest will be the ones from each clan or household.
Yes.
But again, you set the criteria and you decided who was going to represent, and everybody's voice counted and had weight. You talk of inclusive governance. We had women. We had, whatever it is we aspire to or we imagine a democracy could be, existed here. So, when we talk about the impact of colonialism, whether it was the jihadist movement or, the European presence here, there's a lot about us. We're talking of democracy, but there are many things that are present in our society that people fight on. Yeah. For instance, things like the concept of surnames.
Yes.
Like people are ready to scatter marriages on this thing. Meanwhile, the most African thing about surnaming was, first of all, it wasn't a thing for us. The way we identified was a lot more fluid. And it certainly wasn't something that was an identifier of marital status.
True. It
Right?
wasn't, yeah.
And it's the same thing we're doing with democracy now. So for the last century or so, what we've been seeing, what we've been hearing is, the United States, Europe. And so everybody seems to think that these are the guys who own democracy. Meanwhile, they don't. The idea of choosing our leaders, having leaders that are accountable to you, being able to ask questions is an African thing. And that's what a democracy is.
I like that part, the answer you gave when you said if Africans accept democracy. I like that answer where yes, they don't reject it, but because of the people in government are not delivering what they're supposed to give to us.
Yeah.
So I like that part because if you check in Mali, in Burkina Faso, and in Niger, where some of the citizens welcome the military.
When the coup happened.
It's not that they rejected democracy, but they've stood by democracy and it did not give them what they wanted. So now they have to accept something else to see if this one works, they will go for it. And also they have been frustrated to just accept that.
Yeah, I think that frustration is where a lot of citizens are operating within now. And when you talked about, gave these examples of, Mali, Burkina, Niger, you had people who were in the streets celebrating when the coup happened.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, for some of those people, they're also demanding elections now. And some of these military guys are like, no elections. There've been a lot of postponement on when the elections would hold. And so now the citizens are almost like, okay, we celebrated you coming in. Now we can't even ask questions and make demands. But Dr. Something talked about the origin itself. When you made reference to the Igbo culture and how the society in itself was quite Republican and decentralized, I was just thinking there's this Igbo philosophical, leadership philosophy, Igwe Bike. And the idea is people are the strength, or the strength is in the people. Because the idea was what made us strong was we, the people, and leadership in itself comes from within the people. And so it was easier in the several communities, you had different levels of decision making. Yeah. It was not an imposition. Yeah. Yes. And in several other cultures, and you took us way back to even before most time we don't talk about pre-colonial African communities and how we operated and existed. But this is just a call to every one of us listening and watching that most time we need to go back. Let's study what's our history. Yes. And then what do we really want? Because it's not that democracy in itself is bad. The problem is those we've elected they've given it a different character. And that's why we're discussing the red lines, because there are certain lines that shouldn't be crossed. But the question is, how do we, the people, respond to that? Yeah. And do we tell ourselves the truth that democracy is for us, well, we just need to make it work? Or do we just be like, let's just sit back? Because you can celebrate a military coup today and tomorrow you can't tweet about it.
At all.
Because there's also that challenge. Quincy, why?
Anyways, I want to ask you, have you seen a pattern in our leaders, how they test their power to see how far they can go in pushing the boundaries at the detriment of our democracy?
Yeah. So, when she gave the analogy of the monogamous relationship where one person decides to step out, I smile. And I actually think that a lot of what we see happening in larger society, in politics, plays out first in how we handle things at the level of the family unit. That thing of the family unit is the start and the end. So you are in a marriage or you are in a home system where one person thinks that their points of view, they are the ones who have the right to make decisions because they are the ones who hold the bulk of resources. So they hold the bulk of the power. And there are certain things you have a right to and you are agreed to. But I will try it on now. Let's see. If you let them get away with it the first time, they will keep pushing the envelope, which is why a lot of times you hear people say when they do this thing, there must be a response. Or let the first time be the final time. So that, the natural consequence, people know that there are consequences for certain things and nobody's making excuses for them or talking to the person that is offended and telling them calm down. We are talking of our those who hold elected office, and I put elected in quotes because that's part of the red lines that we also need to be honest about. A lot of people don't trust our democracy because they don't trust the process that is supposed to produce our democratically elected leaders. That's a whole, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
It's a whole lot of topic. That one is the topic on its own.
Yes.
You know, so let me speak about us as citizens. You are driving on the road, traffic lights. Red means stop. Yellow means get ready or get ready to stop. Green means go. The light is there. Your fellow citizen wants to break the light. You call that person out. What should ideally happen in a sane society that cares about order is majority of the voices should all be speaking to the person that is driving one way or doing the wrong thing. But you and I know what happens.
True.
Are you the only one? I beg, leave this thing. It's not that deep. It's not that except it is. Because we accept it when it comes to things like keeping queues to traffic. We accept it in our families when certain members of the household keep pushing the envelope. And then when it comes to politics, the mindset, I mean, in our offices, in most public spaces. So when it comes to politics, we accept it.
True.
That thing about Nigeria, and we'll adjust. We'll make memes about it. We'll laugh. We'll joke.
I'm telling you.
You know, that copying mechanism, we have content
yes.
on social media, but nobody actually, like few of us, and that's the thing. You have members of civil society, you have a few citizens who will come out and speak to the issues, but majority of us are having a good old time and laughing it off. And we're not holding our institutions to account. We're not holding our officials to account as a collective. So yes, they test and they push the envelope, right? But the interesting thing now is in instances where you've seen citizens push back, and let me talk about us, and then maybe borrow from the Kenyan example. The NSAS protests. We talked about the end bad governance.
Yes.
And they didn't come out, but we saw the body language. And then by the time, you guys remember last year, Bangladesh was giving, me personally, I don't know about anybody else, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka was looking, and I was like, these are tiny countries.
See what they are doing.
And look at what, look at what they've done. Bangladesh, those ones handled, dispatched. You people are not doing the job we gave you to do. Send them packing.
I think they
and organized their own elections and elected a new head of government. And they did it online. They used digital technology, the same technology we use here to meme, to talk, to rant. They used it to organize and to change their governance system. Let's go back to our constitution. I don't know how many Nigerians are familiar with it. But if you read that document, one thing that is clear is that the single most important office is the office of the citizen. As citizens, what are we doing? They will want to test.
What are we pushing?
What is our response?
True.
Just leave it for God. One of my pet peeves, just leave it for God. I remember coming across a quote, and this was the game changer for me. Nations don't go to heaven or hell.
I love that.
Nations don't have an afterlife.
True. They don't have an afterlife.
There isn't going to be a Nigeria in heaven or hellfire. Nations are social constructs. Human beings decide there is going to be this, and this is how we'll organize, and this is how we'll live. So, newsflash, there are some people that we enjoy in this life. If they were lucky enough to be born in societies that take governance seriously.
Yeah, some people would enjoy.
And then if they meet all the conditions to enjoy in the afterlife, they'll go and enjoy there too. You are in Nigeria, you are here. If I'm not enjoying here, I just need to bid my time in the next life. God will reward me or not. Being a Nigerian is a thing of the here and now. Nigeria will either work here or it will fail here.
Yeah.
So we need to fix it here. One thing you said for Claire is the leaders will push the boundaries.
They will.
They would always want to test. They would push. They would try.
It is human. It is human nature. Toddlers, our kids will test the rules that you set.
That's true.
What will tell? It's human nature. What tells people that that's a line I shouldn't cross? Is when they try to cross the line and there's an unpleasant response.
I remember when I was young, my so like when you have a candlelight on, and then you see a kid going to, and I was like, oh, I think I can't remember my little cousin or so. And my mom said, no, allow him.
Allow him.
When
They know they tell. When he experiences that
he will remove his hand.
next time,
and then
when
he did that,
sees,
and he moved.
when he even sees the candle and it's not lit,
Yes,
He
he
won't
won't
go there.
go there. And I think that's what we're forgetting. We're forgetting that we ought to be candle lights. You need to be fire, basically. That when the government tries, they get burned. They're like, you tried this, you get burned, because these people are so awake that they are a fire, put together. So just listening to you, blowing my mind at this moment, at this point, I'm like, sis, I need to follow it wherever you're getting this inspiration, to get this inspiration from. So there are countries where millennials and even Gen Zs have known just one president or one party or one family leading. I mean, if you think about Togo, one family has been there. If you think about Cameroon, Uganda, some people in our generation have known just one president. And, there are countries where it's just been one party. At Zimbabwe, I think for the longest time, it's been ZANU-PF. And now, the president reviewed their constitution to even extend his term in office. And I'm wondering, how does that affect political imagination for young people? And in Nigeria, do you see us going into a pattern that would affect the survival of our democracy?
So, as you said that thing, I saw that and I almost did the,
Like, God forbid.
God forbid.
Like, cannot be up.
And part of what was going through my head is that, it's that reminder of, as imperfect as our democracy is, at least in the last 27 years, our own better. Like, you get what I mean? Like, at least we don't see change. Although, again, that as we celebrate that, it doesn't mean that we were, but like you said, so we forget that actually. Wow. So yes and no. I say yes because if you live in a reality where it seems like there's very little you can do, and again, I say this, acknowledging the fact that in those societies there have probably been attempts to push back,
yes,
and then you push back, and then it's at great cost, and then things don't necessarily change. The lesson you learn is, again, so that's why in as much as I will go after citizens, I also realize that, especially in a system when you don't feel that sense of we're all on the same page, it can be risky being the individual that, comes out and speaks up, because you stick your neck out and you are not sure that the rest of the group is going to actually has your back, right? So yes, to a large extent, but I will say no. And again, the answer is simple. We live in a time, unlike our time, those of us who grew up in the 90s, the 80s, where what was happening in Nigeria was what was happening in Nigeria. You needed to have access to satellite TV to be able to see what was happening elsewhere. Outside. Now, you'll be sitting, you wake up in the morning, you pick up your phone, and as you're browsing through the news and the hashtags and what the main highlights are, you're seeing what the Sri Lankans are up to. You're seeing that the Kenyans staged the protest. You're seeing what is possible. You can't imagine beyond what you can see.
Yes.
If it's not happening in Zimbabwe, it's happening in Kenya. And it's young people. And the interesting thing, when the Kenyans staged that protest around the tax
the finance bill,
like I was feeling so proud of them. I was like, Nigerians, see your mates, we need to learn. And then I met with Kenyans and spoke with them, and guess what they told me? We saw you guys do the NSAS protest, and we took inspiration from what happened back in 2020. And that was what motivated us to do this thing. So you see that thing of like we're influencing each other, right? And which is why back in 2024, again, they are no official, they denied it. But when they were talking about the end bad governance protest, one of the things we observed was that telecommunications, movement of monies, all of that suddenly started having issues. Because they understood, so let's, I mean, if they say they didn't do it, but if they didn't do it, it was strategic genius, right? Because you affect people's ability to communicate and mobilize, and you also affect the ability to send money.
Which is important for the
Which is important.
Yes.
So again, if they didn't do it, it was fortune arranged things to work in their favor. And if they did do that, it was strategic genius. Should we worry about our democracy?
Yes.
Again, my answer would be yes and no.
I like how you always go with yes.
No, because the truth of this is the answer is it actually is up to us.
Yeah.
Up to us in the sense that I would worry about. I am a bit worried because increasingly you are hearing sentiments that are like democracy is cuckoo not our own before. You are hearing I beg, how do I japa and leave?
Yes.
Like there's so many people, and I won't lie to you, even me that is a diehard do-gooder, like I always tell folks, I have only one passport. Nigeria is it for me. If it doesn't work, then I'm sinking with this ship. I have children. This is like, Nigeria is it for us, right?
Yeah.
And even I wake up sometimes, and I'm particularly since 2015, I've woken up and I've been like, is it worth it?
2015 is very long ago.
I'm just saying it's since 2015, yes. But then there'll be so this is the thing. Then you see flashes and moments
and you be like,
that,
okay.
that where you catch a glimpse of our greatness, like the potential for our greatness, and for us to come together as citizens and a people to get this thing right. And again, just like an abusive relationship or a relationship that is fraught with issues, there are times where your partner will, like, you see what it is that made you fall in love with this person in the first place. Oh, he's a great father. Oh, he's this thing. Yes, he's not always denied, but when he is on his A game, there's no man like him. You get, and then it's easy to forget the bad parts. That's so that's why my answer is no, because you can see that disillusionment, right? And unless we have things that happen that give citizens a sense that their voices matter, that, government with all its imperfections at least has a healthy respect for its citizens and what they are capable of, we are in trouble, right? But the reason why I have hope is, like I said, we still have a relatively vibrant civil society. Even as it's under attack, you still have an active, civil society. I meet with young people who on their own level, even with the constraints, are still sitting down and saying, you know what, there are things, NYFF, we're privileged to meet really brilliant young people who have found ways to work with government in their states, at local governments, to track expenditure, to address, issues. Instead of complaining about things, they've just gone, you know what, let's meet these guys and let's even see how we can work with them to just make sure that there's even service delivery.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, because I most times I just wonder, our leaders, do they even travel out to even countries that we are better than to see how things are just arranged, how things are being done? Even if them too, they are still trying to hold their own democracy, but are they seeing how things are being done there? Are they seeing how, if they are working on, are they seeing the clean roads? Are they seeing how the economy is just booming? Are they even seeing their airports? Let's even start from there. Are they seeing it? And that makes me to come. Let me ask this question: Is it that these leaders, like, they learn from each other on how to undermine our democracy, or is just like a coincidence that our democracy is just going under this pressure from different governments in Africa?
I won't lie to you. There's a part of me that believes that there's a secret WhatsApp group where these guys sit down and trade.
Bam.
Bam. You have hit the nail on the head.
But then let me also, again, I always tell folks that a lot of the things we see that play out in politics and all of that also plays out at micro levels. Yes. Think about school. Think about the workplace. In the office, you have the majority, the core clique who basically set the culture and the dominant tone of the office. Then you always have your eficos, the ones that will show up and do the work well. They are not necessarily popular, but like these are like the model team members in the office. Everybody may look at them and side eye them. And I say that because, we forget we have Rwanda, we have Namibia. They are here on the continent. Those guys are making strides. So a part of me wonders, back to the WhatsApp group we were talking about, if they are all sat, unless there's another WhatsApp group specifically for leaders who just want to rubbish their societies. But there's supposed to be a larger WhatsApp group. And part of me is wondering if, as you are seeing each other and going, okay, I want to treat I don't want to care. Aren't you feeling small peer pressure from the fact that there are other countries that are, you get what I like to use Rwanda because this is a country that basically almost fell apart. And what they went through is supposed to be something that no country should really have been able to recover, not the way these guys have. Rwanda now has become a major hub for economic development, technological development. It's one of the places that all of us now are like, I need to go to Kigali. You get? Namibia is quietly there, showing all of us that inclusive governance, good governance is possible.
Their president is a woman.
There are three most senior governments. Like the power is in women's hands, and they are coming out with amazing policies. And Namibia is just quietly there. It's almost like they're not part of sub-Saharan Africa with the rest of us. They're just doing their own thing. And I'm sat here and I'm wondering, so the rest of you, as you are learning bad behavior and egging each other on and going, after all, those guys are doing it too. I wonder if we aren't also looking at those systems and going, but before we could say that we are not Oyibo, and so democracy doesn't work for us because we are not Westerners. But these are other African societies that are also practicing and democracy is yielding results. So it's not the system, it's the people. And it's the way we've decided that we want this thing to play out.
Yeah, because when you gave the example of Namibia, I remember I was in an event last year, and it was a convening for the Global South. And then there was we're talking about our respective challenges. And this young guy from Namibia, he was just looking at us and he kept saying, he was not like, we don't have this challenge. I'm not saying our system is perfect. However, I think we don't have this. At one point, we were like, just Kuku tell us. Just Kuku tell us that we should all move to Namibia. And he was just talking about the president. It's not easy to find young people talk about their president from a place of love and admiration, especially on the continent. But that was how this guy was talking. And when you talked about how the leaders, can't they look within the continent and see examples of things working? And that's the question I always ask myself, because a lot of these are leaders. I mean, if you think about, even in Nigeria, almost everyone that has held the position of power, from, if we go as far back as Obasanjo from 1999 down to Yar'Adua in blessed memory, to Goodluck, and then Buhari. Oh, too late actually. Blessed memory too. Yeah. These are people who were not new in the system. They were not just thrown into the system. They've been in the system. Some of them had experience in the military era, and
they built the system.
They milked the system. They've been exposed at the regional level and at the global level. So they were not novice. So you won't say, this leadership just came or fell on their laps. But my question is, if you've been in the system, if you have some level of experience, why is it that once you occupy that seat, you struggle to get things done? But not just that. I don't like to focus on just the president. For me, the National Assembly, most of the guys elected, there are some of them questionable character, but they're people that are actually quite educated, exposed, elite in all sense. But you don't see them holding government to account. You don't see them demanding the executive to perform their functions. Increasingly, we're seeing a National Assembly that is almost a Dobale National Assembly. Like, okay, whatever you say, sir, we're good to go. And it shouldn't be so. In democracy, what you need is the president, when you're coming to the National Assembly, you will be shaking.
You come with fear and trembling.
You will come exactly with fear and trembling.
Those are the representatives of the people.
Can you approve this? You prepare yourself. You don't just show up and people are bowing down to you. That's not the idea. Sometimes I worry that the challenge is, it's not just about who occupies that seat, the seat of the president. It's about every other person elected in every other arm of government and level of government. Because at the end of the day, that's all what makes up the government. But then also, we the citizens, how are we learning from the others? You talked about Kenya referencing learning from NSAS. And we've seen how that connects. However, one of the things I struggle with is our level of resilience. I think we're resilient as a people. However, it has levels. Now, when it comes to suffering and smiling, like Fela will say. I think we've mastered the act of, you're shaking your head. I feel like we've mastered the act of suffering and smiling, right? We're resilient with, okay, we'll make this work. However, when it comes to government, engaging government, we give up easily. Like, we protest once, something happens, then we're not doing it again.
It's the paradox,
We vote,
isn't it? Yeah.
we vote, we don't get the outcome we want, then we don't engage again. We say, no, I'm not voting again. After all, last election we voted. I was in the sun. Rain beat me, but the outcome I did not like it, so I'm not voting again. And that is it. We check out fast. We give up fast on those things. But if we say we are going to do 100 days of fasting and prayer, we will stick to that, and we'll do it.
They are not a nice person.
Well, it's not be not 100 days, maybe lesser number of days. But I don't want people to
Actually,
finger in
there are
any
people
place.
doing
No,
100
but they
days.
are
I know.
100 day fast
I
now.
know they are. I don't want anyone to come I'm picking out on any chair. But so it's almost like, let's also be on the WhatsApp group that the leaders are. As they're learning bad behavior, let's start learning how to be citizens who will not allow the bad behavior to succeed, And so, just listening to you and reflecting on some of the points you've highlighted already, I'm just wondering, as a people, do you think we're too relaxed when it comes to speaking out for these red lines that we see being crossed? Simple example: a lot of, when it comes to peaceful assembly, protest, it's almost like showing up now to protest. I think in one of the episodes, one of our guests, Elizabeth, mentioned that there seems to be something in common between protest and tear gas in Nigeria now, because it looks like once you show up, there's a tear gas waiting for you somewhere, or you're arrested or detained for exercising your right to peaceful assembly. We don't organize ourselves to fight against that. Rather, we become afraid, and so most people will be like, no, I don't want any tear gas, I wouldn't show up, right? There is that. We see how there is a gradual shift to overbearing dominance of one party. Now we're wondering, how strong do we have, if the next election, will it be competitive? But even as citizens, how are we engaging in that conversation? Yeah. Are we holding political parties accountable? Because I always talk about parties do not have institutions. Our parties don't have institutions and structures. They're always built around one or two persons, which is why when some people move, parties cannot stand. And what we have is just one interest. Politicians just move to that one interest. This is the interest reigning, so we all align. The moment is under interest, they shift. But we as a people, we are not pointing our fingers at the political party and say, guys, you guys are part of the problem. And so I'm wondering, what should we do differently, right? Should we be bothered about these lines that are being crossed? And then the second part of it is for young people. A lot of millennials and Gen Zs, we don't want a situation where we can't even express ourselves online. But what happens when you have a generation that operates mostly online, but they struggle to hold the government accountable when they cross the lines they shouldn't cross? This is a pregnant question, I know.
Very, very pregnant question. Set of questions.
Yes.
So, first of all, I will completely agree with you. You'd have seen me nodding my head all throughout, as you were setting the context there. Nigerians, I said it before, we're an interesting paradox. We major in the minors. Like, you can see somebody's hair and that's a hill you'll be ready to die on. You understand? But the things that are of weighty, the weightier matters.
Yeah.
For instance, you just pointed out, we all sat here, and if the funny thing is, even people that are not, will tell you they are not interested in politics, saw what was happening. We saw as the ruling party suddenly became the dominant party in majority, and we understand its political mathematics, right? So if you can deliver on a certain number of states for the presidency, that question last time of plus FCT minus FCT, like we saw these things and we commented on it and we, talk about it, but nobody has gone, hey, government of the country, INEC, like, what is going on here? We completely reject and accept this. If you are telling us that, however, whatever magic is going on here that is making 2/3 of the state suddenly all become one particular, there's a problem here. And it should have been something that all of us decided that, you know what, we are not like nobody's going to sleep until we resolve this issue. But again, like you rightly pointed out, we do it with this. I remember when His Royal Highness Sanusi was CBN governor. That period where there's 20 million missing, it's not 20 million missing. I sat down and I was like, Nigerians, it's easy to distract.
To distract us, I know.
It doesn't matter. So first of all, as a citizen, your business is that we cannot account like we can't reconcile it. Our money is missing. Our collective money is missing. Whether it's 20, whether it's 6, our money is missing. And between these parties here, it's not for you to take sides, because your side is on you people between you people there. You are responsible for our money. What happened to our money? The three of you, all the governments, everybody should tell us what happened to our money.
Yes.
But the conversation very quickly devolved into he's a northerner, he's working for APC, his tribe. And I sat and I was like, Nigerians, we deserve the leadership. In fact, I don't want to talk again. You are supposed to leave these guys to bash heads, and we're even supposed to be adding fuel inside the fire. We get rare opportunities to hold them to account like this, and you guys are squandering it.
I think most times when these things happen, I think it happens because most of when Nigerians easily get distracted, because they're always looking for, I always say this thing, like first person to say it.
Yeah.
And apart from that, these things, they are scared, because when they engage or attack those people, they are scared of what will happen. But then again, we cannot just be scared and just relax and not push for accountability.
Should I be honest with you? Silence would even be better than you open mouth and you speak against your interests, or you interfere with somebody that is fighting
for our
in your interest. That's the problem I have with us. If you are afraid to fight, somebody else is ready to fight. Just let that person know that they have your support and allow them fight the fight. That's not what we do. I wish the problem were even that, we don't, how do I put this? We're apathetic. It's not that we're apathetic. It's that we put our energies on the wrong side or on the wrong things. And then those of us who do care enough, we don't give them the support, the encouragement that they need.
I loved what you said, if let's say you're afraid, like, let's work with your business.
Then be quiet.
Be quiet. But what happens is most times the lines just get divided very quickly. And then we forget what the issues are, our interest. Before you know it, it's because it's our brother. That's why you're speaking against him. Or it's our sister. I'm using sister. Most times it's not sister self, but it's our sister. That's why we're speaking against them. Before you know it, it's either religion or ethnic or section.
It's no longer about the issue.
It's no longer about the issue. And so when we even start engaging, it's almost like having conversations now. I think one of the episodes, when someone was making a reference to the security guys, are like, it's our brother. And she told the person, your brother is in office. How has your life changed? The price of bread is high.
When you go and buy fuel, is there a different rate that you pay at the petrol station from the rest of us?
What role can civil society and citizens play in situations like this?
I think to a large extent, certainly when it comes to civil society, there's a lot that's being done. Like I tell folks, I've been really happy and excited this year from the electoral reforms. There have been issues, even this issue of the party, we're slowly becoming a one-party system. And you are seeing those voices. You are seeing them at the advocating. I know that folks are going and having meetings. So this is another thing. Everything is not out in there, public for folks to see. There are conversations going on. Just the fact that you have members of civil society who continue to be a voice of conscience and say, look, this direction that we're going is not a direction. These are the implications. And, we need to stop this thing. We need to checkmate it. As court judgments are being given that don't make sense to us, folks are coming out and also, speaking. Should I be honest with you? And that's
we love honesty.
It wouldn't matter what the executive and the legislative is trying to do if our judiciary system were alive and awake and were functioning independently. Whatever you do as a citizen, you know you can go to the court, and you know that the judiciary will do its job, which is interpret without fear or favor.
Yes.
And when government is overstepping, it will tell you are overstepping. When it's citizens that don't properly understand their rights or this thing, it will fairly, rule on those matters. Unfortunately, now folks will tell one of the things now that everybody will use, it will just tell you, go to court, take the matter to court. And when they say that, we know what it means. Go to court now, take it there.
Before you even get the judgment, that is if you get the judgment.
That's
if
if you get the judgment.
If it will take you like 10 years.
Yeah, and maybe to add to the question, what about young people? We call them digital natives, What can we do? I just say we. I keep calling my.
We keep forgetting. I
don't old, But what can young people do to hold the line? And what would be your message to young people listening and watching?
Okay, so one thing I would tell young people is, so first of all, they need to understand their power. I keep saying it, just based on sheer number. These guys have what it takes to control the system, control the dynamics. That means things like, go and register and get your PVC.
PVC to vote, true.
Get your PVC. Interestingly enough, so that's one part of it. The next part of it is, you get your PVC. Please turn up on voting day.
Yes.
Last time we had the highest number, I think about 76% of the newly registered voters were young Nigerians. But when it came to polling day,
the number was not.
They didn't account for they were about 25%, 26% of those of us who showed up at the polls. If the majority decide to leave things to the minority or what are you expecting? So that's number one. Number two is, everybody keeps saying, they rigged, they do this, they do that. I keep telling folks, when you don't turn up, when you don't register, or when you register and you don't pick up your card, or when you pick up your card and you don't vote, you give them plenty of room to play.
Yes.
So the single most powerful thing you can do is show up.
True.
I'm not saying that they will, somebody that is committed to a cause will always find a way.
Yeah.
But you make it more expensive, you make it more difficult. They will make costly and obvious mistakes.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, when we even think about it, why is there vote buying? If it's not being counted, if our vote is not being counted.
My sister, no, so
why is there vote buy? Why are they bribing people? Why are they making sure their own people turn up?
If I got a kobo for every time someone tells me, it doesn't matter, and I ask them, if your vote doesn't count, then why do they bother to buy votes? And then the light goes on in their head and they're like, wait, that's true. Because they actually don't need to pay me if they are going to rig and do anything anyway. And I tell them, you self, reason them.
Yes.
It's cheaper for them to get you to sell your vote or to not turn up to or whatever than it is for them to sit down and do whatever jiggery pokery that we think they want to do. So this one, we're even just talking about elections. Because I think a lot of times we think that governance is about election because that's the big moment. Meanwhile, it's everything that happens. It's the conversations around electoral reforms. It's they say they want to do tax. It's how our budgets form. So for instance, color me shocked. I just found out recently that we have not finished implementing the 2024 budget.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're not.
But we passed a 2025 budget, and there's a 2026 that's about to come out. So, what's going on? We have the budgets of 3 years. If we've not done 2024, so what does that mean? Like, even just asking the question that, but wait, if we've not finished implementing that budget, what does that now mean?
For
and
us?
Why haven't we implemented it? Are there challenges around revenue? Did we create a budget that doesn't match that we cannot fund? Like, what is going on? What's the problem? Even just paying attention and asking those questions as a collective, it would be an important and powerful thing. But like you said, I think a lot of us have kind of just gone, I beg. Or how we're talking about it reduce the price of fuel. Fuel is choking me. So that's what's going on without
Wow.
Nigerians understanding that budget actually has implications for the price of fuel. The things that you care about, that you think are of concern to you, those things that you ignore and you think are not your business, that's where those things, the things that affect them directly, are happening.
Yeah, I think this is where to pause this conversation because, oh my gosh, Dr. Onyeche, I need to bring you back here.
I'll be happy to come back.
Yes, you're giving it, and we always want to have these conversations because I do believe that we need to keep talking with each other and we need to keep opening our eyes to the realities that if we don't engage as a people, as a collective, if we're not asking the right questions, why are we still, why are institutions of government not properly funded? You have ministers, you have heads of agencies actually complain that they have not received their budget. So how will the country function if institutions that ought to meet specific needs are not properly funded? And so there is a budget, what's happening? And I think most times we focus on the tiny issues. We forget that there are bigger issues, to look at. There was this song, make we forget about the small thing, make we talk about the big or something. I can't remember that song, But it's just a call to everyone who believes that things can change. That one, we need to keep talking about these issues. Two, we need to engage each other differently and start building as a collective. These identities that usually are used to divide us are just political, because most times these identities only come out when there's accountability drive, or we're about to go to the polls, or we're about to ask serious questions. That's when we're reminded where we're from.
When it's time to eat each other's food, wear each other's clothes and be friends and hang out. We don't remember
We don't remember those differences. Only when it's important to make good decisions and use our power, because they said it's the office of the citizen is the most important office in the constitution, because the constitution is clear. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, through whom governmental powers are exercised. This is where to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Onyeche Agwiti Douglas, for being our guest today. And to our audience, everyone watching and listening, I have a question for you. If you were to become the president of your country, what would be the one policy decision you would take? Drop a comment in our comment section with your response and tell us which country you're from. Quincy, why?
Thank you, Amplifiers, for sticking with us as we unmute Africa loud and unfiltered. Yes! And don't forget to click that subscribe button, like, and share. Thank you, our team behind the cameras, for all you do. We really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to follow us on all social media handles on Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, and also on Spotify.
Yeah. And you know how we always end? We end with a cheers to Africa, because this is a Pan-African podcast. So when you're on,
you're amplified.
Cheers to
Cheers
Africa.
to Africa.
Africa is great.